If you're live with us, please comment on the chat. What's your name? Where you from? And what specific questions do you have for our speaker, Sean Kim? And now today, quick announcement, what we're going to cover today. Today, we'll talk about specifically how our speaker, Sean, was able to grow his career from IC, working for startup and Amazon, TikTok, and also become the chief product officer at Kajabi, which is a leading ad tech platform. And so glad to have Sean join us today. How are you, Sean?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So let me do a quick introduction regarding what we do today with our podcast. I have a quick introduction here. And then for everyone who joined us live, just comment on the chat. And if you can see us live, I can see many different messages here. Yeah, we're streaming live on both places. Congrats. I can read everyone's messages live as well. Awesome. Great. Cool. All right. So now, quick introduction regarding what we do today, the Product Insider podcast. Hey guys, I am Dr. Nancy Lee. I'm passionate about all things product, career growth, and nonprofit. I'm on a mission to help people create an amazing product that impact millions of people's lives while getting the work-life balance you deserve. Welcome to Product Insider. Shy away from the real talk? No way. Covering everything from imposter syndrome, people management, and barriers facing the product leaders of tomorrow. We're joined by fan-level product leaders to get the lowdown on what's hot right now. And I'm your host, Dr. Nancy Lee. I moved to US with $800 in my pocket and became a director of product in 4 years. Now I ran Product Manager Accelerator courses that make product management careers accessible to everyone. Are you ready? Welcome to Product Insider. Awesome. So, and Sean, let's do a quick intro. And through my research of your background, here is what my understanding of your very impressive career path. So Sean Kim is the president and the chief product officer at Kajabi, responsible for expanding the growth of businesses and its value to customers globally. Previously, Sean was head of product at TikTok, the destination for mobile videos and most visited website in 2021, where he set the strategic direction and lead teams responsible for developing and growing the company's product. Prior to TikTok, he was a global head of product at Amazon Prime, where he played an instrumental role in driving customer retention for the Prime membership. Welcome to podcast, Sean.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this podcast.
Awesome. So Sean, through my very high level introduction of you, can you just give us an overview regarding your career path? As we know, you joined big tech company Amazon and then fast growing company like TikTok, who almost take over Meta's place in the social media space. And then you join another amazing, which is also my favorite product, which is Kajabi, is a course platform, which all of our students in PMA Accelerator is using Kajabi right now. Can you give an overview regarding your career growth?
Yeah, sure. I'll start from the very, very beginning. I moved to New York with $500 to my name. I didn't have a lot of money, but I felt like, hey, if I can make it in New York, I can make it anywhere, right? That was the mentality that I had. And when I got there, the only job I could get was in sales. So I was actually doing 100 phone calls a day, selling websites to restaurants. This was early 2000s, by the way.
That's a cold calls, right?
Yeah, cold calls. That's right.
That's tough.
Calling restaurants all day long. Hey, my name is, and by the way, back then my name was Somei Kim. It wasn't Sean Kim. It was Somei. That's my real name. My legal name. And I learned so much through that process. And with selling, it's not really. It's really a lot of asking questions, not just telling people about the features and what's really amazing about this website versus that website. It's hey, what problems can I solve for you? What are the problems you're having with your website? It's very, very different. And, with different restaurants, it's we just opened, I need people to know about it, or I just got a new chef, or, I just changed my menu, whatever it might be. So, it's really just asking a lot of questions to understand what you could do to help solve their problems. Coincidentally, though, during that time, I actually changed my name to Sean because every single phone call I was saying, Somei, my name is Somei. And they're like, what? Sal? What's your name? And that took up 30 seconds. And eventually I'm like, hey, you know what? I need to change my name to make this more efficient. And I was watching 007 back in the day, Sean Connery. And I thought, oh, he has a really cool name. I don't have to change my initials, so that's why I changed my name to Sean.
I love this. It resonated with me.
Yeah.
Dr. Nancy Lee is not Nancy. As you
Oh.
know, my Chinese name is Ranxin.
Mhm.
I have American friends call me Roxin many different times, many different versions you can ever imagine. The most funny one, Roxin, was like, well, it sounds like Rocky's movies. Let me pick something easier. And I picked Nancy. And later on, I realized that Nancy was like more like grandma generation name, but I didn't know because we're just like, oh, hey, it's too late not to love it anymore. But they've been using it for a while until the only person, most people that have the same Nancy name, they are literally grandma level. But anyway, I'm the youngest Nancy.
Hey, it's a classic name. I like it. I love it.
Yes. Cool. So you started doing sales and decided to change your name. Did you get those sales training when you get started, or you just picked up how to do cold calls?
Just throwing in the water, and just and through that experience, you start learning what works, right? And I thought, like, I just go jump on the web on the phone call and just say, hey, I have this website, it has all these features, and I definitely wasn't as successful doing that versus, hey, asking questions around what are the problems that you're having that I can potentially solve for you. So it was really a customer focused, asking a lot of questions and that was really sales, at least through my experience. And I've also talked to other people, and I felt like that through that process, it was so critical to learn sales, and I would encourage that for everyone else. Like, hey, business is sales. You have to really know what sells. And how that process works and what really resonates with customers. And so I would definitely encourage a lot of people to try that if they haven't had that experience in the past. After that, I worked at a company called Experian Cheetah, and this is where I actually taught myself to code. I was teaching myself, HTML, CSS, like front end stuff, like JavaScript, eventually media queries, building email for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. And I was a dedicated account manager, and basically had to like learn the nuances and details of how email works. And that was also fascinating because I learned a lot about digital marketing and how to also work with these big, large companies as well, and how they operate internally and what we can do to service them. But I remember when.
Hey, Sean, remind me a little bit. What year was it?
Oh man, this was I'm trying to remember, like 2004, 5, 6. I can't. One of those years. I think it's 2005. Yeah.
The early years of all the tech.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
You look way younger than that. That's why I was confused. Okay, I was confused. What year was that? Technology sounds old, but you look way too young. But good for you.
I think Asians look kind of young in general, so.
That's good to keep.
Yeah. So yeah, Experian Cheetah, they offered email marketing solutions for Fortune 500 companies, and I remember when I was applying to that job, they're like, hey, you need to know how to do front end code, and I was like, yeah, of course I know how to do front end code. And then I just like read a lot of books and taught myself before the interview, and came in and like took the test and did well enough to get a job there. And I was there for like 5 years and learned a lot. It was a really amazing experience working on the client services side, right, and what it takes to actually be successful and help our clients with their digital marketing. And then I actually was really interested in the technical aspects when I was there. Like I was working on building out like custom API solutions for clients, how to move their migrate their database from one place to our that database, and it was just that whole part was really fascinating. So that was my training in terms of getting the technical background that I needed for my future careers, right? And then so I definitely also encourage people to take all aspects of different businesses. I learned sales, I learned how the technical backend works, and taught myself to code. These experiences were really, really valuable in terms of how you think as a PM long term, at least for me. So after that, I worked at
Sean, quick interruption here.
Sure.
You said you taught yourself how to code. Lots of people are trying to do this right now. would you still do that again to teach yourself how to code and knowing it's so much challenges, or at the time it was easy because it's very intuitive, I can pick up easily how to code? To me, I don't think I'm capable of doing that myself. I just say so impressive.
I think it's valuable. I think it I do because fundamentally it teaches you the foundations of how things work. And for me at the time, I was teaching myself to code for email, but this also applied to like websites in general. Like so we were like, separately I started a startup helping small businesses get their website up, getting their email services up, and so on as a side business. And in that process, I was teaching myself like how do servers work, and how do I actually get an HTML file up and loaded to get their website up and running, and just going through the whole process of getting their buying a domain, and actually from the beginning of that process to getting a site up and running, that whole experience was really important for me to understand. So it's not you're not just like looking at software and just seeing it work, but like you actually know how it works. So that was a really good foundation for me to understand, and it gives you at least for me it made me a better PM because I can make better recommendations on like what is possible and from a software perspective. So
this is awesome.
yeah.
And then you said you continue to start your own company, and then when did you start to jump to bigger tech later on?
Yeah, so I had a startup on the side that was doing quite well. I mean, we actually made some decent money. Like me and another founder were just offering website services and email marketing services to a lot of smaller businesses, and we kept that going. While then I separately worked at a company called DirecTV, and DirecTV was also a really amazing company to work for. When at the time, they were basically the experts in marketing, digital marketing, like just hands down experts. Learned so much from the leaders there, and what I learned working at DirecTV was that when you're early in your career, it's so important to have a really good manager. I would actually
Perfect.
when I meet with mentees or people that ask for advice, I always like, and they're starting out their career, I say, hey, you know what? Find a company that you're going to have a really amazing manager. I would actually prefer that over the company that you choose, because the manager can provide you so much really valuable insights. They help you build your confidence. They identify your strengths and weaknesses to coach you. They open new opportunities for you. They even like, point you in a different career direction, right? They say, hey, this is actually a
Exactly.
better career direction. And when I was at DirecTV, I had this really amazing manager at the time. Her name's Karen Lever, and she went on to be president of Discovery. And she
Wow.
was the one that really gave me the confidence and said, hey, you're really good at building product. And you came here for marketing, but you're really good at building product, and like gave me these opportunities to like flex that muscle. And I realized I do love product a lot, right? So
Yeah.
that's just so important to have someone early in your career. I would also encourage people to get a mentor too, like separately. I think they just give you a lot of context and insights. And luckily, she was my mentoring manager. When I eventually left to go to Amazon, I continued to keep in touch with her. I still send her bottles of wine every single year. Even now to this day. So she's
Wow.
someone that I still keep in touch with, and she's helped me make a lot of good decisions throughout my career.
This is
Right. So
amazing.
yeah, going to Amazon, she was like, yeah, of course I want you to stay. Of course. But Amazon's such an amazing experience. At the time, it was like I think the stock was only $300, and this was like back in 2007 or something like that, right? Or really early on. So she was like, this is a really amazing opportunity, Sean. You should definitely take it. Um,
Wow.
so,
Even if
so
she knows you're leaving like the
yeah,
company she's managing, she's
yes,
giving away good talent, but she's thinking for you for your long-term
that's
career
right.
growth.
That's right. That's right. She's thinking about me. She wasn't thinking about, keeping me around and like, being upset about that. She's like, no, no, no. I think this is a really amazing company. Could be good for your career. And she gave me a lot of amazing advice even after I joined. Right. So I think that's the kind of
Wow.
manager you want to find.
Yeah.
Uh,
So quick notes. How would you know who could be your good manager, good mentor before you even join the company?
yeah, that's a good question. Like I do. yeah, it's important to do a little bit of research and background on the person, right? Like see if you could meet potentially people that report to them and ask questions
Mm,
around like, hey, what do they care about your career growth and what is it like to work on this team? What's the culture like? But I think that is really, really, really important when you're early stage of your career. It's just finding that right person that's gonna take you all the way, right, and just give you the guidance and open the opportunities for you to really expand your career. So that's definitely something I would recommend for everyone that's listening.
this is amazing. Can you also do a quick summary for you? This means that the mentor doesn't matter the level. Doesn't have to be a CEO mentor you as long as someone
Right.
who is a little bit senior than you could be direct manager or maybe one or two levels above you. It doesn't matter the level. It's more about does
Hmm.
the person care about your personal growth or not. Am I right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And it's even better to have multiple mentors, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had mentors that were career focused. I have mentors that are really amazing at building culture. I had mentors for personal life. Like it's just good to be around people that have this amazing experience to share that knowledge with you, right? And
This
when
is
you're going
amazing.
through these big decisions in life, like don't just assume that you can make those decisions like just like without consulting anyone else. Like it's just important to like, especially if it's a big important business decision or life-changing decision or career decision, like just get having someone else to go have gone through that, give you their perspective. And it's not like you have to always listen to exactly what they say. It's just they give you that different perspective, like, here, have you thought about these things, right? You're like, oh, I didn't even think about that, right? How would you know if you have never gone through that experience? So it's just so important to have someone there to like just give you that perspective. So
This is awesome. And I also have a theory, a personal theory. For a great mentor to select the right mentee, you also need to be outstanding yourself as well, being able to quickly implement what they said and also grow your career based on their guidance as well. Or it may not be exactly what they want you to do, but you're growing in different ways.
mhm,
Because my personal belief that will be if you're a great mentor, there probably are 10 people want you to mentor them, right? You have 10
right.
mentees. Probably you will specialize in focusing on your time on top three mentees or somebody cannot do all 10 or all 20. So you
Mhm.
must be the one who is already a great, like implement and grow your career. No wonder your career become even more fascinating later on. So let's talk about you jump into Amazon. This is just a
Yeah.
beginning, hey guys. This is just a beginning. Comment on the chat if you find Sean's story very inspiring. Come
Yeah.
on the chat. Okay, so Sean, so let's talk about you. Tell your best mentors, and hey, I got a great opportunity to join a company called Amazon in 2007, right? Around the time. So,
Somewhere on there. Yeah. I can't remember the exact
yeah,
dates, but it was like what it was a while back. Maybe it was like a little later in 2007. One of those years, but it was such a amazing opportunity because what's interesting with Amazon, I remember the day I decided to apply was I was
mhm,
watching a TV commercial about Amazon, which there's not that many, right? But I was watching a TV commercial, and they had this. I think they just launched like it was Fire tablets, and in the Fire tablet you can push a button and have a customer service agent interact with you to show you how to use a tablet and like
mhm,
and walk you through that whole process. And it was just that one-to-one interaction. I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like the tech, as well as the fact that you're willing to spend your resources to help people get trained to use the tablet, one-to-one experience. It's not super scalable, but then I made me realize like, wow, there's a really customer obsessed company
mhm.
to build a feature like that, invest in a feature like that to help people like walk through the product and so on. And so I thought to myself like, that's an amazing company. And the questions I would ask like when you're thinking about switching companies is like, what is is the company solving like a really big problem for
Mhm.
customers, right? And is the work going to keep you challenged, right? Because that was what helps you keep you motivated, right?
Mhm.
And of course, are you going to get along with your manager? And ultimately, you have to go with your gut, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you have to go with your gut. And I say so. I think that's really, really important to like kind of think through those when you're picking companies to work for.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I don't encourage people to like look for new companies to work for every single year. I don't think that's also good for your career. Like, and I'll kind of get to why later. But
Yeah.
it's important that, like, that when you make that decision to decide to leave a company and apply somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
you do ask those questions, like, oh, man, how big of a problem are they trying to solve, and is this going to challenge you as a company to work
Cool.
for?
So
So
in 2007, what big problem Amazon's trying to solve? Are they starting to sell books or starting to work on AWS? Remind me at the time that you felt like, wow, they are literally going towards really big market.
back then, they were basically, I'm trying to think, they were focusing. I mean, so they had devices. I joined the device team, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the big thing. They had Kindle, they had tablets. I remember they were also focusing on lots of different opportunities in terms of the types of devices they were going to roll out.
Yeah.
So as soon as I joined, it was Fire TV. They had the Fire phone. They had dash buttons. They had all sorts. I mean, Echo, all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
different devices that they were launching, and I felt like this was like really amazing opportunity to join the company at the time. I'm actually
Awesome.
looking at my thing. Yeah, it was back in, actually, no, it was a little later. It was like 2014, I think, is when I joined. So it was a little later. Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
And then you started Prime. Tell us
And
more
so yeah,
regarding Prime.
so I was at the device team for about 2 years, and then I joined, I think, yeah, Amazon Prime is when I joined that company, and the Prime team was absolutely amazing, because I also wanted to really understand what it meant to work for a subscription business, right? And DirecTV was a subscription business, but this was like subscription business for delivering, in 2 days, as well as all the different benefits that we're offering. And I felt like this was a really amazing opportunity to join that team. And they were scaling that offering across multiple countries when I was there. So I was like US, then Canada, then like Australia, and like Europe, and so I felt like this was like a really opportunity to like learn about how to expand a business internationally, and all the different
Mm-hmm.
challenges that it comes with. And of course the team, of course, like the really smart people, the amazing managers. Ultimately, like, one of the reasons that I joined Amazon overall was I wanted to see how I stack up as a PM slash marketer, like, working with the best of the best in the world, right? Like, how do I stack up against everyone else? And there was like a
Yeah.
challenge for myself, right? Like, I want to see shoulder to shoulder, like, if I were to work with them, am I able to be just as good? Am I also able to get promoted there? It was a kind of a personal challenge for me, because I'm not coming from an Ivy League school. Like, I think almost everyone there at the time was like, from somewhere Ivy League, that had
Wow.
MBAs, etc. So,
It's
but
crazy.
yeah,
They always
um,
hire the best talent. Yeah,
yeah,
I heard they really love those MBAs. Is the MBA getting from top schools? There's like
mhm,
even they still do it today.
yeah,
Yeah. So basically the talent pool immediately became much more competitive at the time.
right,
And
right,
so
right.
how did you manage to become the head of product and really launch something so amazing? Everyone using Primes right now, even we subscribing our
Yeah,
household,
the
everyone.
the yeah, promotion wise, I mean, like, man, I remember that promotion process was pretty tough. Like, getting to L7 there is like, it was incredibly challenging, right? And so you're in the promo process with many other candidates. You have to have launched something pretty big or work on some really complex initiative,
Mm-hmm.
and of course you're going to have conversations with your manager and say, hey, like, I want to get promoted, like, I want to get to this new role, like, I want to have more
Yeah.
responsibilities, like, what can I do? And that they give you the guidance on, like, oh, here's the areas you could work on to get promoted, here's what you got to deliver, etc. And I didn't actually get promoted the first time around. It was a
Mm-hmm.
they gave me, it was a I did went to the promo cycle, and I think the directors and managers, etc., have to actually say approve it, and it didn't go
Mm-hmm.
through. I was like,
Huh.
sad, man. I was like, whoa, man, that was like a big hit to me, and
Yeah. How
yeah,
did you
I
learn
could have
from it
quit.
and recover?
Oh yeah, I could have quit. I could have been like, hey man, am I not good enough? Right? I could have quit. Uh, but for me, it was a challenge for me. It's like, hey, I can do this. I can get promoted. I know what it
Mhm.
takes now, and here's what I got to do to make it. So,
So,
yeah, I
Sean,
mean,
let me ask you this
sure.
question. What does it take to get promoted in Amazon? First of all, how many is it 1 year each time this is a cycle for you to get promoted? So what's the top three things for them to look for people to get promoted in Amazon?
It will vary from level to level.
Mm-hmm.
I think like when you're when you're going from L6 to L7, for instance, they're looking for a lot of different factors, right? It's the complexity of the product that you're working on. You have to be able to build a uh, business case from ground up, right? So we have something called the OP1 process, and you're like basically writing the whole thing yourself, which is the
Wow.
plan for the business, right? For the prime business, like, hey, here's the plan, and then getting stakeholders to buy in on this, like across
Mm-hmm.
the board, and which is like a multi-billions of dollar business that you're actually writing the entire plan for. You're like, say, here's the
Exactly.
plan. Do you buy in on it or not? So yeah, you have to have been able to do that. Obviously presentation skills, how you carry yourself with leadership is also really important, because it is like becoming an executive to some extent, right? The beginning of becoming an executive. And
Mm-hmm.
it's also being able to like be that person that you can go to with any kind of problem. Like if you say, hey, here's what we're going to work on, and you're the person that says, don't worry about it, I can take care of it, right? And you come in and just like execute, and deliver results end to end. Like that's like so valuable as an employee anywhere, right? So
Right.
there are a lot of these different factors that take in, and I think like yeah, it's I would say Amazon definitely has trained me the best of what I've become as a product manager leader. It's you know it they give people so much responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was on the device team, I was the one that was able to schedule campaigns on the homepage of Amazon, right? They give you the option. Here you go. Let's go start scheduling things. And like, imagine all the traffic you get, right? That you're
Wow.
responsible for. So like yeah. So they give you a lot of responsibilities when you're at the company. And yeah, Prime is like, here you write the plan for the business, right? For the retention component of the business. So I think and then of course you're presenting in front of like Jeff Wilkie and like the entire leadership team, and like stress, right? Like, these
Mm-hmm.
people like can look, they're like looking so far ahead, and they're like, and also like, hey, why did this one metric change like 50 bips? I remember last week it was like 2.4, now it went up to 2.9, and you're like, wait, why did you even remember that stuff? And so it's like they this is the next level in terms of like attention to detail, and like being able to handle such complexity of a business at any given time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the kind of stuff. I mean, and it trains you so well to like be able to handle that kind of that kind of stress.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like the
Wow.
culturally, like how I operate now is all kind of like the foundations from Amazon.
No wonder you mentioned that now you, as a head of product or CPO, Chief Product Officer and President Kajabi, you brought lots of people from Amazon, different kind of fan company work for you guys, because they're probably getting trained the same way as you did in the past. Now they
Mhm.
just say, boom, run as a tier one companies. Am I right?
Yeah, because I mean, at least for Amazon, the employees that worked there were super scrappy, right? Like you had to wear multiple hats as a PM. Like you weren't just writing feature requirements and then someone else does all the work to actually like launch it. Like no. You were doing the business case, you were doing the financial ops, you were doing the digital marketing. Like, hey, here's how we should speak to it. You were doing like the copywriting at some degree,
Wow.
like literally everything. You're like basically a mini CEO. Like that was the job as a PM. There wasn't really ever a scenario where like, oh, that's not my job, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what a PM is at Amazon. You're in charge of everything, right? So, and so I think like that was also really important. I don't think that's the case for other companies, even FANG companies. I don't think like they give
Mm-hmm.
that much responsibility to PMs, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just the way that the culture and company works there as a PM. Like you're just like, hey, like. We're really scrappy here, right? So that means that
Yeah.
you're gonna have to roll up your sleeve and like literally do everything until eventually this business grows more and we can potentially hire somebody and hire someone under you, whatever it might be. But ultimately you are responsible for everything. That trains you and like to be really resilient and understand the business like end to end.
Yeah, totally. But you are right regarding the differences of Amazon among other fan company. It's very true. We had the VP of product from Google, Rob Latham, speaking on a podcast like a few episodes ago. He was talking about Google. That he used Google and Amazon as a contrast. He's talking about in Google, the product manager's success was measured by number of product you launched. It's not measured by is the product you launched successful, not making lots of revenue, having lots of users. But in contrast, he was like, Amazon's culture was very straightforward. You launch something, is it successful? Did you generate revenue, business impact? Very end to end. Product management in Google is different. That's why he's talking about different kind of culture differences. Yeah, huge differences regarding different cultures. So in summary, how did you eventually become the head of product? Head of product for Amazon Prime. What changes you made?
Yeah, so basically, like it was, ultimately, it's your ownership of responsibilities, right? Like so you have multiple dev teams. At the time, I think I had like 7 or 8 dev teams. Each dev team had 7 or 8, up to 10, 20 people, and working across the entire organization, right? So and you were and I was central. I was in Seattle, so I was ultimately responsible for driving prime retention for global. So whatever we built here was ultimately what we scaled everywhere else, right? So the prime cancellation experience, that's one of the features I worked on that we improved and then optimized and then said, hey, this is going to be scaled out to every other country in the world, right? And so there's a lot of it just comes with ultimately a lot of responsibilities, and of course you have PMs that manage the different dev teams and so on. So while I was at Amazon, this is like I think 6 years into Amazon, I got a phone call from a recruiter that said, hey, by the way, there's this really cool company called TikTok. You should come work here. And I was like, what's TikTok? This is 2019. Like no one really knew TikTok at the time. And I remember downloading the app and I opened it. I saw a bunch of kids dancing and lip syncing. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I actually called the recruiter. I was like, no, thank you. Right. I just like, no, I didn't even like consider it.
Exactly. The TikTok branding in 2019 is very different from what it's look like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like not even this like kids dancing. Personally speaking, I think it's a little bit too towards the other end of dancing, which I don't want to get exposed to, especially for my kids in the future. I was like, oh, people really doing crazy stuff on TikTok. Yeah. How did you make decision to really join TikTok and create Amazon, especially you're doing exceptionally well in Amazon now? You say join the like kids teenager dancing app. Tell us more.
Yeah, it was. So they actually initially reached out for a head of marketing role, and because I had a marketing experience too, right? And I also like said like, nah, I'm not interested in marketing, and also like, what is this app? Like, I'm not. I don't get it. And so I remember. So I had a friend that worked in Beijing at ByteDance, and he was like, hey, you should work here. And I'm actually going to have Alex Zhu reach out to you, who's the founder of TikTok.
Wow.
Said, hey, just come to LA. Let's have a conversation. I'm like, of course. Like, I'm always open to talk to meet new people and listen to opportunities and so on. And I remember I flew down, met with him. Brilliant guy, by the way. This guy is just like next level, just amazing at design and user experience and customer centric and probably one of the best product people I've ever met in my life. And so I was having just a simple conversation with him. He's like, yeah, the app content isn't that great today. And I was like, yeah, dancing lip syncing. Like, check out this dancing video that I had of my kid. And I was like, and he was just kind of like, okay, yeah. So he wasn't very impressed with this video I made of my kid. And he's like, but we the content will get better. It will get better. And we figured out something that no company has figured out. I'm like, what? What did you figure out? He's like, we figured out discovery. And I was like, huh. And I was like, that's interesting because yes, most people do just search, right? You go to Google, you search. You go to Amazon, you
Yeah.
search. You go to Amazon, you search, and then you find everything, right? It's all search based. And I was like, "What do you mean you figure out discovery?" He's like, "Well, just open this version of the app." And this is the Chinese version of the app that had. This was like 3 years ahead.
Yeah.
I opened the app and I saw the content was so rich of information, education. It had everything about like where to eat, where to travel, what foods to, what books to read, what movies to watch, latest fashion trends. Like I was just flipping through. I was like, "Well, this is absolutely amazing." And this is all user generated. He's like, "Yeah, user generated content." I'm like, "Okay, so the tech for the camera was better. Like it was like the content experience was better. Like everything, and it was like very diverse content." And then he's like, "Yeah, just click on any one of those people on the video." I clicked on it, opened a window, and I can buy what they were wearing and have it delivered in 30 minutes. And I was like, this is the future. This is the future. I knew
This is the
at
future.
that moment I had to join the company. That was like I watched that company, and within 30 seconds I knew I had to join this company. That was the future. And so
Awesome.
I
Hey,
remember,
quick question.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you explore the Chinese app, do you understand Chinese at all? And also heard in the TikTok culture in the US, they're doing bilingual for many different teams. How did you
Mhm.
quickly really capture Chinese element of the content and knowing the culture combination between US and China? Given I assume based on last time you're Korean.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't speak Chinese. I mean, I knew some words here and they're like probably just bad words. And, I didn't know a lot of Chinese, but
Learn from TikTok.
yeah, I love to. But it was definitely like I could see this content being, or the tech and the experience being global, right? So it was the Chinese version of the app, and I said this is basically it's like an app that's like 3 years ahead in the future. And I was like, this could be an app that could be, something that if they got this right, if we got this right, it could be global. And that's how I knew. Like I was like, yeah, this is the company to join. And I mean, there's a whole other story there too, by the way, when I first joined. But I remember it was a gut call, right? Like it's a pretty risky decision. Called my wife and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
so we have to move to LA, and I'm going to join the startup called TikTok." And
From
she's like, "Oh,
Seattle to LA.
yeah, so the dance app?" And I was like, "Yes." And I'll explain why. And so I had to convince her, and I was like, "Hey, worst case scenario, I'll just go back to Amazon, whatever, right?" Like, but it's a gut call. You have to make. Sometimes you have to go with your gut, and make a decision. And I'm not. It wasn't like I was betting the house, right? Like, it was this risky decision, but like, you have backups. If things don't work out, you can always go back to work somewhere else, right? So, and I knew this was going to be a challenge. It was working with the China teams. There was no engineering team at the time in the US, I think. It was basically I had to work with everybody in China. And
Yeah.
I remember I don't think I've ever said this, told this publicly, but like I remember 2 days before I started, it was like, "Alex," I think it was like they called me and said, "Hey, come to China." I'm like, what, like in 2 days? And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, how long should I stay there? Like what should be the flight?" She's like, "Well, just like how do I pack, right? How do I pack my clothes? 2 weeks, a month?" And I think I kid you not, the response was like, "Just pack some clothes. If you run out of clothes, buy more clothes. Problem solved." And I was like, "What?" So I had to tell my wife, like, "I'm going to China and I don't know when I'm going to be back." And she was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" Like, "Yeah, in 2 days I'm leaving for China and I don't know when I'll be back." And she was like,
Oh my
"Okay."
goodness.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I remember, when I went, like, obviously it was more to like understand how the business works and meet all the players. And I met like literally everybody, top down. And it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Wow.
All the meetings were in Chinese. I had to have someone help translate. And I was like, "Oh my God, this is very different." But it was a
And you also
really good
have very
experience.
supportive wife. I gotta give your wife some credit. This is
Yeah.
amazing. She said, "Oh, go in
Right.
2 days. If my husband pulls this on me, how a different reaction." Oh,
Yeah.
you're good. Your wife is amazing. I'd love to meet her someday. Awesome.
And
So
we
so
had a kid
how
too.
so how long you end up? Said what?
And we had a kid, so
Say it again.
that was not easy. We also had one daughter, so that was
Yeah.
not easy for sure. Yeah, yeah. I was there for two
Yeah.
weeks.
Exactly. This is Oh, 2 weeks. So you were there for 2 weeks. You met all the big players.
Yeah, I met all big players. I remember after 2 weeks, I actually sorry. Before I get to there, I remember the very first meeting I had. I went into what you would call like a QBR, quarterly business review. Everybody was there, like literally everybody, top down, meeting everybody, and amazing. Like, I mean, they'll go through the app, the core metrics and what's worked and what didn't work, what we're doing next. Like very similar to how Amazon would operate, right? I remember right after the meeting, Yiming walked up to me, the founder of ByteDance. I'm like, oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
He's like, you're from Amazon? I'm like, yeah, I'm from Amazon. He's like, nice to meet you. He's like, what are you going to work on? I'm like, I have no idea. I just got here. and he was like, and then I remember Alex was like, oh yeah, we just hired him. He's gonna work on the app and etc. TikTok app. And I just thought it was so humbling because he actually knew who I was, came up to me, and shook my hand and welcomed me, even though he's like the founder of this big company. So
wow,
yeah, it was a really
this
good
is
experience.
impressive.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks went by, and I remember I was having a meeting with Alex. I was like, hey man, so can I go home? It's been 2 weeks. And he was like, I think he looked at his watch, and then he was like, how long has it been? Like 2 weeks. He's like, okay, you can go home, but come back next week. And I was like, next week? Oh man. So yeah, it was an interesting time for sure. Yeah.
Wow. So basically, you almost qualify for Chinese citizen based on the number of days or time months you spend time there.
Yeah, I got a Chinese
This
phone
is
number,
awesome.
a bank account, like all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Wow, cool. This is very different experience you would ever imagine. And then you grow your career in TikTok, and somehow you decide to leave TikTok after you became the head of product there. So please tell us how you grow and why you all of a sudden want to jump again to a completely new field, very different industry.
Yeah. So TikTok, amazing experience, and rightfully picked the right company to work for when it was like a exponential growth. Went through a lot. I learned so much working with many different teams there, and we eventually built out a product team in the US, built out this big engineering team as well. Like it was awesome. Launched a lot of features, and what's great about TikTok also is they're very similar to Amazon, like the core leadership principles, operations, how PMs think. So it was actually and very, very similar. And yeah, so I guess like I got along really pretty well there. I remember a lot of teams did use PowerPoint when I first came, and I was like, we're not doing PowerPoint, we're going to do docs. Here's a doc, read this doc. So so the culture switched to writing docs, and I shared like how you should write docs to
the Amazon practice.
Yeah, and so that was the practice after that. Like we started using docs for almost everything, which is really good. And so yeah, I mean, overall it was a really, really good experience, and I learned so much there. And in terms of like, and the fact that like you were allowed to take risks, so important, right? Like similar to Amazon, it's like, hey, go try something and then see if it works. If it doesn't work, it's okay. We'll just pivot or shut it down and we'll try something else, right? That's so important.
I love that culture.
Yeah, that's so important versus like tops down. This is what you're going to build. Like, if that's the case, you just hire a bunch of like, college grads and just do that, right? But if you need people to like go and be willing to take risks, so yeah, I mean, I launched a lot of things there that didn't work, and a lot of things that did work. But each time we learned a lot. Learned so much. One of the things I launched there that didn't work was the Learn feed. I don't know if I don't know a lot of people actually even use this thing, but there was a third tab on the homepage called Learn. And there was so much that went into getting that built. So
I have it.
Oh yeah.
I have it. Maybe disabled right now. I get something called STEM, STEM, I get STEM
Mm-hmm.
tab. There's 3 tabs. It's a normal For You tab, a popular tab. I have a STEM tab even today. And by the way,
Interesting.
guys, follow me on TikTok. Even if I have 55 followers, you guys should follow me. So on TikTok, I have STEM tab myself. You guys figured out I'm into education big time. Only
Yeah,
have
yeah,
55 followers. You guys are very good stalking people, I guess. Yes.
yeah.
I have a STEM tab right now. Maybe they repivot your learn
Repurposed it.
into
Yeah,
STEM, I assume.
yeah. There was a lot of work that went into that building that Learn tab. It was like it was. I mean, if you think about it, it's like how do you decide what content is educational, right? Like what
Mm.
about religious content? What do you do about that? And what about culturally in different countries? Like what like some you would consider educational is not considered educational there. Once you determine what's educational, how do you
Huh.
tag it? There's a lot to think through operationally and from an algo perspective, and yeah, and then and so creating that type of content, there was a lot. There's a lot of it wasn't easy to get that built. I remember we launched it, and we launched in Canada
Mm-hmm.
first, and tested it there for a
Mm-hmm.
while. But yeah, it didn't. It wasn't. What's interesting is like we do a lot of research and we asked a lot of customers, "Hey, what's missing from TikTok?" At the time, it was educational content. We're missing education. We want more useful content. I'm like,
Yes.
okay, well, let's create a way to watch educational content. Like, how would you want to watch it? And customers
Mm-hmm.
say, or users say, "Hey, I would want a separate tab. I just want to watch educational content in a separate tab." I'm like, okay, we built it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even though users say this is how they want to interact, this is what they want, and how type of content they want, the behavior is not this what they say, right? Like, they say they want to watch it in a separate tab, right? But then the way they behave, completely different. They're like, nah, it's not. I'm not gonna go to that other tab. I'm just gonna watch in the For You feed. So it's another learning experience. Like
I
like
see.
what people say they want versus how they behave, not always the same, right? Not exactly what they, not
Yeah,
always. But yeah, overall we
exactly.
got a lot of learning from that. A lot of learning. We were able to get a lot of educational content. We started to learn on TikTok hashtag like hundreds of billions of views, I think. Um, yeah, I mean, and,
Mm-hmm.
and we got onboarded a lot of educational creators on the platform. Now it's like all over the app. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much educational content on the app. But that's what really started
Yeah.
was our work to get that third tab built. So yeah,
Awesome. You started the movement.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was it
this
was
is
a
amazing. I'm glad there's a more content. At least to me, I get a lot of stand education. I like it way more than
Mhm.
dancing videos and other things. Yeah, I love the initiative.
Mhm.
So Sean, that helped you to become a head of product there.
Mhm.
So tell me, actually, the one of the biggest question I want to ask you is taking the risk, right? You always quit the company at the right time and join the even better company at the right time as well. So how did you make decision? Yeah, so you always jump to better one at the best growth, like it's like you
Mhm.
always pick the best time. So how did you pick when is the best time to join what company? Especially
Yeah,
you
that's
decide literally decided to leave TikTok to join Kajabi, right? It's a very different company,
yeah,
very different industry. You join the education industry. So tell me more how your decision making process would look like.
yeah. It's a good question, and I don't think I have like a really solid like playbook. Like if X then Y, like it's not that easy. Um, I I'm the type that usually stays at a company for a very long time until something happens, until something says, "Hey, it's time to move on." Most of the time, it's
Mm-hmm.
usually because of two things. It's like a manager, or I'm not challenged anymore. Right? I got a new manager, don't
Mm-hmm.
like the manager, or something going on with the manager, and like, or it's boring. I'm not boring, but like it's not
Yeah.
as stimulating for me, right? Then I start looking for other roles and
Mm-hmm.
opportunities. So that's essentially most of the time. That's generally how I've made decisions on how to go look even. After that is like when I look at companies though, I do look at like it's always stemmed on like what is it solving a really big problem, right? It always comes down to the customer
Mm-hmm.
problem trying to solve. Like, is it solving a really big, hairy problem? And is it going to be a company that's going to challenge and motivate me? And then I look at like, hey, like the
Mm-hmm.
manager, and then ultimately, like it does come down to a gut call. Like like no matter how many data points you have around, like just are they going to like be really successful, et cetera, et cetera. It comes down to a gut call. Now, for a startup, I would definitely also ask additional questions like, how much money in the bank do you have? Right? You have to ask that question because they're not going to share that unless you ask
Great
it. Like,
question.
right? How much money you got? So those
Yeah.
are the questions I would definitely ask. Kajabi was a little different. Like I think like when I was at TikTok, one of the challenges was helping creators make money, right? And we tried everything to help them try to make money. We were like launched a tipping on the profile page and gifting in videos. We tried creator funds. We tried all sorts of stuff, like different types of funds and like features to help them make money.
Yeah.
And I would arguably they weren't very successful at doing so for many reasons. And I don't think any social media platform or like that is successful at helping creators monetize. No, I don't think there's any of them out there that does it. Except for YouTube a little bit different, but like it's like a 1% that makes the money. So
Yeah.
the first thing I did was I was like talking to all the teams and said, hey, let's go find a startup that does it really well. I mean, find someone that does it really well and just copy it. Right? There's no shame in the copy game. As a PM, by the way, no shame in the copy game. If you find someone else that does it really well, just do it better. Right? That's a strategy on its own. So
That's how you discover Kajabi.
yeah, that's how we discovered Kajabi. And I found Kajabi at the time. I was like, what is this? At the time it was 50,000 customers that made $3.5 billion. And I'm like, how is that even possible? It makes no sense, right? And so there was Kajabi. There's also another company that did really well. It was OnlyFans. I'm like, yeah, we're not going to create an OnlyFans over here. So we looked at Kajabi and saw they're offering valuable educational content to help people improve their quality of life. Right? Valuable educational content.
Yeah.
And these creators had direct relationships with their customers. They had exclusive community experiences. They offer exclusive content, structured content, solving broader or niche problems, right, across many different spectrums. Whether it's like how to do your finances, how to get a better job, how to interview for a tech company, how to sleep train your kid, how to test a certain pass a certain test. It was just like it was a valuable content. And if you think about it, people are willing to pay for valuable content or to improve their quality of life since the beginning of time, right? And it's like, so this is like this is new. This is just a better way to scale yourself as a someone that was offering your knowledge. And they were very
exactly.
right?
Especially and what? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was just and Kajabi is just very, very successful at doing that. Very successful at doing that. And so and there were a lot of companies out there that do it, but then Kajabi was the one that figured it out. And so
exactly.
that's why
They're very good at everything, like branding, customer acquisition, and the lifetime value of customers is almost forever once you join them. They got me hooked. I don't think I'm going to be able to easily get off Kajabi for any time soon at all. And guess what? You're right. Even today, based on my knowledge, because TikTok reached out to me. TikTok trying to say, hey, Nancy, can you grow on TikTok? We help you to make money on TikTok. We help you to sell courses on TikTok. They reach out to me. Even if I have 55 followers on TikTok, hey, guys, follow me. And then they say, like, Nancy, wanna bring big creator like you to move to TikTok. But here are those kind of features like the literally doing customer interviews. What will take for us to build for you to move to TikTok and help you to be a successful coach? They are still trying to figure out and trying to copy Kajabi's business model today. Even today, they literally just copy me. All the tier 1 companies, and I have students working for those companies, and I have connection there, and they literally reach out to me asking how they can just do certain features to move me to TikTok. But it's crazy. Yes, they are still working on this. That's how Kajabi figure out. You're right. They are the very few company actually figure out and so well and still let customers hooked. This is amazing. Congratulations that you jumped to Kajabi and become the CPO there.
Oh yeah, I thank you. It was I mean it's all leading up to it, and with Kajabi too is jumping to a company where I was managing over 300 people, right? That's a whole nother challenge. I'm like scary, but like, hey, this is a whole nother challenge I'd like to take on and get experience on. And I'm still learning, right? I'm still trying to be a good leader and motivate people. And so I think it
Mm-hmm.
was and building a new culture here, right? There's a whole new set of challenges that I wanted to take on at Kajabi. On top of like,
This is
the
amazing.
fact that this is a winning product, and it was it would be hard for other companies like social to copy it because you're basically owning your business here versus like if you're at social they're
Mm-hmm.
never going to give you the email addresses to your followers and let you build a exclusive business where you actually own it and have direct relationships with your followers. And also on top of that, like the platforms will take a
Mm-hmm.
big chunk, like 30%, 50%. I think like Apple takes 30%, then the platform takes 50%. So every dollar you make, you're taking home like a small change, 35 cents. At Kajabi, you take home 100%. You make $100 million, you take home everything, right? So I think like it
Exactly.
was very customer obsessed. Uh, the products that was been built in the last 10 years, like it's like you started with courses, then like, oh, we need, customers need the ability to have landing pages and website. Okay, you offer landing pages, websites. Oh, we need email, built the email. We
Mm-hmm.
need exclusive community. Here's exclusive community product. We need mobile branded exclusive apps. I'm like, here's apps. We also now offer
This is
AI
awesome.
driven solutions to take all your videos to and build out the entire marketing funnel as well as short videos from your course videos. Like we offer all the tools for one price, right? So I think that's been a
This is
winning
awesome.
strategy so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to try out your AI strategies. This is amazing. Hey, Sean,
Mhm.
last two questions. And
Mhm.
I really want to touch upon decision-making process in terms of product prioritization for the company.
Mhm.
And also we do have private Q&A that we like
Sure.
to
Yeah.
have you to join us as well. So let's figure out this. You mentioned as right now you
Mhm.
manage team of 300 people. That's huge. Like
Mhm.
there must be many different like product features or important product features on the roadmap that want you to prioritize, right? So what specific product prioritization strategies and secret have used in the past that always leading to the great success based on your past successful track record?
Mm. I would say that number one, you have to really understand your customer and your customer problem. Like you have to, that takes a lot of research. It's like talking
Mhm.
to customers. I meet customers every single week, right? And we have voice of customer process to understand what are the problems that that they're running into. Uh, we do surveys to understand what is the biggest customer problems we can solve for. So it always starts with the customer problems. Now, where you invest your time
Mhm.
and where you optimize, it kind of depends on a few things. Like one is like, how big of a problem is it that you're trying to solve for? Is it existing problem that you've been trying to solve, or is it a new one? It's also cost of level of effort that goes into trying to solve some of these problems, right?
Mhm.
And is it core to your business or not?
Yeah.
So there's always a need to ensure that you're improving your core product. Right? Whatever the core product that you're offering it is, you have to constantly invest and ensure that it's getting better on an ongoing basis. Right? You can't just stop working on the core thing that everyone uses every
Mhm.
single day, right? So you got to constantly improve there. But then you also have to think about like
Yeah.
long term, like, hey, if we only do incremental stuff, like we can't innovate. So what's the problem that we could solve
Mhm.
for that all entrepreneurs are, having are facing that we could potentially invest in, right? This is kind of your long
Yeah.
term innovative bets, and some of them will work, some of them won't, right? But you have to be okay taking these bets, have to be okay taking these risks,
Mhm.
so that you can continually innovate as a company. So you have to invest some of your percentage of like your resources on those things, and not all of them, it takes time for some of those things to work. Like I rarely see products like work
Yeah.
right at the bat, like boom, like it just takes off. Like just rarely see that. It's always like, and then you like do optimizations and pivots and so on, and like eventually like gets product market fit and takes off, right? So I think,
Takes
but you
off.
have
Yeah.
to invest some of the percentage of people there, and
Mhm.
so. yeah, but it ultimately, again, it just kind of comes at, you come at it as like, what are the problems you can solve for, and then how close is it to the actual core, core product that you're offering. So like if it's like completely far off, like that we have no skills in terms of offering, then I probably wouldn't work on it today. If it's like related to some extent to our core business, then I probably will look into it and invest in it. But yeah, I always have teams across multiple areas, like investing in these areas, as well as optimizing the core experience.
This is awesome. So, Sean, one last question.
Mhm.
Regarding growth mindset and investing in yourself, you're also in education industry now, and also you have been trying to build this feature for TikTok for a very long time. So, what's your opinion regarding like growth mindset, invest in yourself? Because lots of people are always thinking about, let me just learn slowly, but there's different ways and definition of owning growth mindset and
Mhm.
seriously invest in yourself. So, what's your opinion on that, and how did you invest in yourself?
I when I'm in my car, I only listen to audiobooks that are related to my field. I don't listen to anything else. Like rarely, I mean, like when my kid's in the car, she'll be like, "Hey, let's listen to BTS." I'm like, "Okay, we'll listen to some BTS." But as soon as she's outside the car, I turn my Audible on, and I have like I'll just literally read you all the stuff I have here. I have like Masters of Scale as a book that I'm listening to right now. There's this Startup in You, Blitz Scaling, the Lean Startup. I have Super Founders. Every startup probably have listened to it or read at one point. The Blue Ocean Strategy, like the Habits of Power, the Power of Habits. Yeah, so I invest a lot of my time listening to other people's experiences and the problems that they
Yeah.
run into and so on, and how they solve for it. But because I actually enjoy it. That's like that's my, might be weird, but that's how I also relax. I'm like, oh, and just like when I wake up, I think about problems to solve. When I go to sleep, go to sleep talking about problems, and I talk to my wife about problems we could solve, and she's like, dude, stop talking about work. you know but that's just how I am. Love I just love it so much that I just think about it literally
you
all day
you
long.
have
Yeah.
the perfect Awesome. You have the perfect integration between work, life, and learning. Among
Mhm.
those three, perfect. I love learning as well. Whenever I want to de-stress, I study. Made me
Mhm.
de-stress. Surprisingly, this is what I do with my husband. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so stressed out. Let me learn something. I feel much happier after doing that. It's very different. Yeah,
Yeah.
very different mindset. And also different ways people perceive the
Mhm.
value of learning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing your important wisdom with all of us today, Sean. I know
Sure.
this podcast went way over time than what we originally scheduled, but we do have quick like a Q&A with you for our um audience who already pre-registered for private Q&A with you.
Okay.
So let's do this. Okay, so Sean, thank you so much for joining us and everybody who joined us live through our Product Insider podcast. Make sure to hit the like button and share this important learning, and also tag Sean and me in any of your sharings, so that more people can receive this piece of important advice and wisdom from Sean and help more aspiring product managers and existing senior product manager to grow their career, just like all our podcast guests as well. This is Dr. Nancy Lee, and good to see everyone, and good to see you, Sean. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Cool. Okay. So, Sean, I am going to end this podcast right here.
Mhm.
And then people who already registered for private Q&A, you should already receive the Zoom link. If you still want to join the private Q&A, in the description of our live, there should be a link for you to
Okay.
request private Q&A. If you couldn't find the link, go to drnancy.com, and there's a place drop down, the inner circle. So inner circle is free. So you guys just hit inner circle and join us. We'll automatically send out your Zoom link as well with Sean. Okay. But people already registered. We have many people registered already. So just get the Zoom link ready. It's already in your email, and we'll also already have people on Zoom right now. So Sean, in your email and also meeting confirmation, there's a Zoom link. I will send you again anyway. So join there. We'll have 10 minutes Q&A, and then we're good to go. And
Sounds
then
good.
thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll join
Okay,
right now.
so
Thanks.
Sean, quickly, don't close your tab for this one until it's 100% uploaded, but you can join Zoom because 2 different windows.